Okay, we're live. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the study session of the University City Council to order on March 28th at 6:00 p.m. Before we move to the winter weather operations, are there any changes to tonight's regular agenda? Mr. Rose.
Honorable Mayor and council members, because tonight we're not able to have our normal meetings due to the elevator being out. So there may be some residents that would have liked to have spoken on items that aren't going to be able to traverse the stairs. With that in mind, as well as there are maybe individuals with certain disabilities that also would be unable to make it up the stairs. So with that in mind, I would recommend that you keep public hearings open for items I-1 and I-3. And I would recommend pulling item number L2.
Okay. Anything else regarding the agenda? If not, Mr. Rose.
Honorable Mayor and council members, tonight I would ask that you receive a presentation from Public Works Director Sinan Alplaslan on our winter weather operations. Mr. Alplaslan will be highlighting our standard procedures as well as any changes to our operations. Mr. Alplaslan.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Mayor Crow, council members, good evening. Under the winter weather operations, I have the following considerations. Water main breaks, bridges, and priority areas. These are water main breaks, unfortunately, occur during even the winter time, during dry winter weather, and they cause icing hazards on our roadways. And we cooperate and collaborate with the Missouri American Water Company for responses on these occurrences, and they are responsible for the public water supply. They explain that the supply water temperature affect their infrastructure in the winter time. And so they probably suffer from aging infrastructure also. And we have an increasing trend, unfortunately, in the winter time of these occurrences. When these happen, we respond as well as demand water companies' response to secure and make safe those streets for traveling public. And if they are private water lines, then the responsibility falls on the property owner to take action and have it repaired. There is a county program available for it, but usually we guide the property owners in that process to prompt their action. If not, we collaborate with the Planning and Development Department to take code enforcement action. Bridges are our high priority during winter weather because they are exposed to cold air from above and below, and especially a tall bridge such as you may be familiar with the Old Bonham Road Bridge over I-170 highway. Because of the airflow under that bridge, it tends to ice up faster than the others. So we need to prioritize those items of work. Our other priorities consist of the municipal yard access, that's for our operations, some hilly road sections that our street division personnel have become familiar over the years, where the movements of vehicles can be tricky during winter weather. So we attend to those areas. Delmar Loop commercial zone, that is because of the activity that is in the area. Active solid waste collection routes, not to interrupt or disrupt our solid waste operations. And we also attend to police emergency calls during this time. Under the personnel and equipment consideration, I'd like to show this map. It's not that easy to see, but it's pretty much the intent is to show you our practice in approaching our entire 81 centerline miles of road network in our area. in University City. We assign, these are not per ward designations. This is our practical use. Region 1 is above Olive, Region 2 is between Olive and Delmar, and Region 3 is below Delmar. The Region 3 area also includes the Delmar Loop commercial zone. That includes pretty much the multifamily buildings behind the loop to the north. And so our Region 3 effort starts there and then extends to the west. And so it's not that easy to see here, but Region 2 therefore constitutes a smaller area, which will lead me to my assignment later of the route crew sizes in these areas. This other map shows through streets. These are codified, and our municipal code includes these streets. And these streets, our municipal code includes some streets. These streets are those streets, as well as some others that provide some through access in University City. As you see, this branches out almost all neighborhoods in University City, and these also connect to county and state major arterials. And there can be some to be added to this network. That's not too definitive yet. Those through streets have about 15 centerline miles out of an 81 centerline mile of street network. So as you see, that's about almost a quarter of our network. So our practice does not always include to prioritize those through streets. However, the February 3rd storm, as you may remember, was quite a challenge to deal with, and due to the high rate of snowfall. And during that snow, we made a decision during the control effort to focus on these 15 centerline miles first, to be able to provide an access out of the residential zones for our residents to reach out to the county or state routes that could serve them to get them to their destination. Like I said before, the unit assignment in the regions are based on their geographical land area. And so we start with, we have 5 units available for us in terms of personnel that we can staff these units with in the Public Works Department. 2 units begin in Region 1, including that loop area. Region 2 starts with 1 unit, and Region 3 has 2 units. And so the units that complete the regions 1 and 3 then supplement the Region 2 during the later parts of the event. Before snow event, we do pre-treatment on our roadways. Pre-treatment helps with I will later address those, what it helps with, but it's in the name. It is before the event occurs. It's to get ahead of it. And pre-treatment generally is completed with salt application. Brine is another, salt brine is another effective method for pre-treatment. However, we don't have, currently we don't have equipment to be able to treat the entire street network in University City with salt brine. This requires different type of equipment. If the event starts with a rain, we cannot pre-treat because it washes off the salt brine, but we can still pre-treat with salt. During and after the snow event, we plow and spread salt. Sometimes we can spread also salt brine if the accumulation is not too much and there is not continued snowfall after the first event. If the temperatures stay cold and drop further, we focus on plowing and spreading salt behind it. But as you know, St. Louis is in a transitional climate zone. So here we still in the wintertime go above and below freezing. And so when this happens, the best usage of treatment, the streets happen to be with salt. And so the salt application in these cases is useful also to leave some material on the pavement so that if later another event occurs due to the temperature fluctuations, we have in fact a pre-treatment for the later event with the treatment for the current event. I'd like to show you some of our equipment. These are starting from the left top picture. That's a dump truck with a plow applicator on it, as well as it has a brine tank on the back of it that you may see in the picture. The truck on the right-hand side is a dump truck that has a snow salt spreader on it with a plow. The truck on the bottom is a pickup truck with a SnowX spreader, which we have found to be very effective in salt spreading operations. All trucks have plows on them as well. So salt brine is made in the shop by adding water to salt and mixing. There's a mixing tank that creates a certain salinity for a liquid de-icer application. This is sprayed onto roadways before the forecasted winter weather system arrives. If the temperatures generally hold about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Brine is not effective when we are going down below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Brine prevents snow from sticking to the pavement and aids the plowing efforts as well as allows the road to become drier quickly. This material is made in-house. We have a 250-gallon tank on a pickup truck and a 750-gallon tank on a dump truck currently. This is a gravity-fed system, so little maintenance is required. There's no pump between the tank and the sprayer, and the only pump is used between the mixing tank and the truck. This is the application and the equipment. A tank on the dump truck is on the left-hand side that you can see. The pipe releases the application to the roadway. On the right-hand side, there's a pickup truck with a smaller tank, and that is the applicator on it. There are some more of these tanks available, so we can equip more pickup trucks with this type of an applicator. Chlorides pre-wetting is another consideration. This is done by saddle tanks. I'd like to show you that. These are saddle tanks. Saddle tanks go under those triangular areas under the truck's spreader and piped into the spinner. And before the material is dropped onto the roadway surface, this helps with wetting the salt. Salt is more effective when it's wet, and it does not bounce off pavement when that happens, and this increases the de-icing effectiveness of the salt up to 30%, which is quite a bit. Salt brine effectiveness is reduced in low temperatures, such as 20 degrees or lower. For those applications, there's another material available, that is calcium chloride. Calcium chloride is currently not in our arsenal, but it can easily be added. We have tanks available for it, and especially for pre-wetting operations, those saddle tanks, we would fill them with calcium chloride instead of salt brine, and use it that way. Plowing is still important. We need to plow first before applying the de-icing materials. And like I said before, those materials that remain on the pavement help with the later events when they occur. The de-icing operations, one thing to probably repeat about salt is that salt does not does not activate unless actively de-ice until and unless it goes to liquid form or brine state. And so an ineffective method is to address everything after the fact. That is a top-down application. An effective method is a bottom-up application, that is pre-treatment and continuing plowing, so that when we plow, we open up that surface where we can apply more treatment so that it does not build up on us. With the equipment and methods that are on hand, we can specifically tune our application to specific needs, so that calcium chloride can be used for if we are down to the teens. Beet juice is another application that some agencies use in our area, that is used for more longer effects. If the event is longer, extended has extended duration, beet juice tends to remain on the roadway and maintain its quality for a longer time. We have not experienced with beet juice so far. It has some organic qualities that are not always desired, especially in residential neighborhoods. It has a little odor, and so. But these are options that we have because of the equipment and ability we got in the shop, and the de-icing, of course, when it comes to really hard conditions such as these, if we have these tools in our arsenal, what we can do is fill those tanks with some of these liquid de-icers and apply them directly onto the roadways. These are pretty hard to deal with traverse conditions on these roadways that occurred on February 3rd. This was right after when the storm stopped, the snow stopped falling, 81st Street, Canton Avenue, Etzel Avenue. This is in the clockwise order. Etzel Avenue, you can see that it's almost a complete whiteout condition there, and 82nd Street, in this case, was similar. The close-up picture shows the roadway surface that is starting to break up. What's needed there is another passage of the plow and then application of the de-icing material so that we maintain control over that pavement surface that we can open up. One other consideration in these operations is the citizen communications with our newly launched emergency communication system of Code Red. This system can be utilized for local winter weather alerts and advisories. And it's an opt-in type of system, so the residents are not in it until they sign up for it, and can advise of upcoming operations and facility closures. As you know, during these snow events in February, we had some of those. Needed improvements. Annual refresher training, new staff training is always a good idea. We strive to do that. Plowing operations, equipment calibration are some areas that we can cover. Our association offers training opportunities here, as well as in-house. We have some of that available. Assignment of same region to the same employee so that the employee is familiar with the area. It creates a higher sense of belonging, that's their area, they take care of they know the intricacies of the area. That has not consistently been applied. That is something that we can also start doing. Reliable tools and resources with maintenance support throughout the round-the-clock operations. That has occurred in this last February events, so that we always had a mechanic in the fleet shop that was there standing by when the equipment breakdown occurred. We were able to get that maintenance quickly. These other things are technology enhancements with GPS systems, telematics, breadcrumbs type of tracking system so that the operator knows when the shift operator before him or her where they left the operation so that they pick it up from there, so we don't leave anywhere not covered. Live edge plows that allows for conformation onto the conforming onto the roadway surface a little bit better so that the plow adapts to the roadway surface more effectively and gets the snow out of there, and therefore we use less salt to de-ice. And more localized weather forecast to anticipate needs so that we can gauge our efforts to that. Last item is more probably on the wish list. Narrow streets are a challenge during snow control, and if we can come up with a method to ban parking, prohibit parking on one side of the street so that the plows can effectively operate, so that the parked vehicles can get in and out effectively, as well as when they get out, can get back in effectively. As you can imagine, we cannot get in between the parked vehicles to plow those areas. We are in the center of the road, but when they need to leave and come back, especially if there is accumulations such as the February 3rd storm that was up to 8 inches or so, there is a big heap of snow between the traveled part of the roadway and the park side. So that's for that ease of application. This is what I have. I have some time for questions. Would be happy to answer.
Honorable Mayor and Council, before we get into questions, I did want to just share with you that I'm guessing it was about 10 years ago, maybe a little less than that, that they went away from the use of calcium chloride for de-icing. And I've directed CNON to prepare the necessary equipment needed to go back to calcium chloride usage. And the reason for that is because I think we have to have a better balance between safety issues and that places our streets in the safest position that we can by using that chemical. And it is also used throughout the region. So it's not as though we're doing something that they're not doing in other jurisdictions.
Thank you. I'm happy to open it up for questions. To all of my colleagues, please bear in mind, we've got about 10 minutes before the regular session. Who's up? I believe Mr. Cusick, I believe, was first.
Thank you, Mayor Crowe. Actually, I have several questions, but they're very brief. Sinan, could you explain very, very briefly what is meant by 81 centerline miles of street and 15 centerline miles through streets? What is centerline and what is the difference between the 81 and the 15?
81 centerline miles of those are our linear mileage of our street network, Councilmember Cusick, in our area. 15 miles is those marked streets on this map, the second map that I displayed on the screen.
I see. And then we have several county and a state road going through University City, but we do not do anything on those streets for cleaning or pre-treating, do we?
Correct. We don't.
And I recognize that we don't have any control over that, but just for listeners and for our residents, how are the state would do take care of Olive Street, and then the county would take care of Delmar and Hanley and North and South and Midland. How fast do they get do they get their crews out? And could you explain to our residents why maybe sometimes those streets may be delayed in getting cleaned?
County is pretty much on top of it because their network is more extensive than the states. State only has one line that gets into University City, and that's the end of their line. It's not a grid. It doesn't serve any other roadways from their network within their network. So we may have some delays with the county state's response, MoDOT's response. We have gotten out to Olive in the past, sometimes to plow when it came to that.
And then finally, are there any environmental impacts on the different chemicals that are used, such as the chlorides or the salt brine, in terms of runoff into the river to Pears or anything like that?
Actually, any one of those liquid de-icers help with reducing the salt application rates. So the salt, the granular salt we drop on these roadway surfaces is probably the most harmful material in terms of the creeks and the environment. And so whenever we use the liquid de-icers, that effectively decreases the rate of salt application. So they help with that. Calcium may be seen as an environmental hazard in some instances, but if we are only using it in a limited manner during the conditions that certainly require it for safety, that's not a major environmental impact.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Clay.
Thank you, Mayor Crowe. Thank you, Director Alpazlan, for the presentation. Councilman Cusick hit on one of my questions about the difference between the county, state, and locally maintained roads. This feeds in my next question about communication. Could you talk a little bit about the Code Red program? How the communication manifests? I'm assuming text messages or other alerts. Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, sir.
Code Red, exactly as you described, Councilmember Clay, disseminates the information through text messaging, very practical and up-to-date type of technology for the usage of all generations of our citizenry. And it is effective in the sense that it can actually include very important emergency notifications from the fire and police departments, the emergency operations, as well as our operations that may not be as high an emergency level of operation, still can advise our residents in different manners, different clusters. So we can actually customize the message to different clusters, facilities usage, even maybe, I don't know for sure if that type of information is collected under it, but could also appeal to the interests of the user in terms of if they're specifically interested in our recreational programs, they may receive that information about the recreational program closure during a snow event such as that.
And this goes live when?
It's still being worked on. Not exactly sure now when, but should be soon. We're currently working on identifying how to get the system into the working form. And so it should be soon after that.
Honorable Mayor and Councilmember Clay, we are certainly encouraging, we would like to have every household signed up for Code Red. That would be, the ideal and when it would be most effective. But if they would contact Assistant City Manager Don Beasley, if they have an interest in signing up for it, or if they receive the weekly community report, we have for the past 3 weeks included a link so that people can sign up as well. And we'll start actually using that system here, I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Any other questions? Mr. Smotherson.
Thank you, Mayor Crowe. I just have one very quick question, and that is, where does the 1300 block of Purdue fall under your map? And the reason I say that is the 1300 block of Purdue, I know you probably are very aware, is a straight hill. And in our past events of snow that we've had, that was a struggle for people to get up that hill. And I'm literally looking and watching people struggle to get up that hill. So if you could address that, please.
Councilmember Smotherson, we should, I agree with your assessment, prioritize that area during its inclined condition. We had a particular trouble this last event in the area of Quendo, Ferris, the areas off of Canton up in the northeastern section. We're looking to address with additional training, making sure that those areas are receive continued treatment during the event, not only limited to the 1300 block of Purdue, but that cluster due to its geography. Not only that, but the grade and the various curved roadways in the area and narrow intersections in the area.
If I could, just your last point, you talked about the streets that had less than a 28-foot width. Ballpark, how many streets do we have that fit into that classification?
Mayor Crowe, we probably have about 5 or 6 blocks throughout University City, most important of which being Northmore Drive. So that is a big challenge in University City in terms of its width.
Thank you. Anything else of the city manager or staff? Hearing nothing, thank you very much, Sinan, very much for joining us this evening. To all of you, the study session is adjourned, and we will immediately move into the open session